Welcome to the Adjunct CEO podcast with your host, the Adjunct CEO, Dean Akers. Tips, ideas, and interviews with top leaders to help you and your business when results matter.
Well, welcome to the show. Today's going to be a fun show. We're going to actually talk about some specific self-talk incidences that happened in my career. It's a little longer show than normal, but I think everybody will enjoy some of the stories because they are really, really, really good examples of how self-talk can impact mostly positive and negative. But again, I hope all our listeners enjoy it, and I love to thank everybody for reaching out to us, and again, your emails are much appreciated, and that's help@adjunctceo.com, help@adjunctceo.com. We've been helping some people that have emailed us, and I know they're appreciative, at least they share that. And again, shout out to all the countries around the world that are listening to the Adjunct CEO, and it's a pleasure for me to bring you some of these stories and ideas that can hopefully help you improve your business and or personal life. Again, today's going to be a lot of fun with some stories that are actual true stories on self-talk. So here's a couple stories that are really true to form for me. One of them is a story of myself and three of my fraternity brothers. On a Christmas break, we traveled to Acapulco, Mexico. We drove from Gainesville, Florida. And it was a long trek. We were typical college students, not a lot of money. And so when we got to Acapulco, it was a surfing trip. So when we got to Acapulco, we didn't have a lot of money, so we wanted to go somewhere inexpensive. So we said to ourselves, well, the most inexpensive place you could go would probably be a trailer park or a camping site. So we went to this place called Balboa Trailer Park, or Balboa resort / camping, or whatever it was. We went to this trailer park, and we rented a concrete slab for whatever it was a night. I don't really remember, but we rented it, and we took our sleeping bags, and we would sleep out under the stars, out in the elements on this concrete slab so we could save money. So we were down there 3 or 4 days surfing and having a good time, and so the last day we were down there, one of the guys we were traveling with, we ate out that night, and he got really sick to his stomach. It must have been food poisoning or something like that. And so he finally said, look, I don't really care how much it costs. I'm not sleeping on the concrete again out under the stars. I'm sick. I'm just going to pay the extra money and get a room at this place, the Balboa place. They had rooms also. We were all sitting there self-talking, telling him, well, it's going to be a lot of money. He said, I don't care. So he went in to get a room, and he said, I need to get a room, and they had a room, and he asked how much it was, and here's where self-talk impacted us. We never asked how much a room was. The room was about 40% cheaper than the concrete slab for a trailer, or for dragging a travel trailer or a tent on, most travel trailers. We thought because it was camping, it would be much cheaper. Our self-talk had us sleep 3 nights out in the elements on hard concrete, when for less money, we could have gotten a room and had a nice air-conditioned room in Acapulco, Mexico. So there was a class example of self-talk. Another self-talk story. So when I was little, I had 2 other brothers at the time. I ended up having 3 brothers. One of them was later in life, but this was my 3 brothers that were all in my same age, and we were probably early teens, late, 12-year-olds, whatever. And I was the oldest, and I had a second brother that was a year behind me, and a third brother that was a year or so behind him. And my grandparents would ask for us to give us a Christmas list of our wants. And I remember us sitting around the table, and we all wanted bicycles, and we were sitting there we were talking to ourselves, and so my number 2 brother said he was going to put down a 10-speed bicycle, and we all went. My other brother and I went, "You're crazy! They're never going to spend the money on a 10-speed." So I put down a 5-speed bicycle because it was much more reasonable. And I figured if my grandparents, with the money, they would probably maybe get me a 5-speed bicycle. But my third brother was going to be a for sure. He put down a 3-speed bicycle. So we've all convinced ourselves. My one brother was convinced he wanted to ask for the right thing, what he wanted, what we all really wanted, which was a 10-speed bicycle. But my other brother and I were much smarter than him. So I put down 5-speed because I knew that had to be clearly within the price range. And my other brother put down 3-speed, thinking the other two of us were crazy. A 10-speed and a 5-speed, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to at least put a 3-speed because I know I'll probably get a 3-speed. So move the clock forward to Christmas morning, and we go to my grandparents. And my grandparents, my grandfather always had some unique way for our gifts, and so there was a envelope on the Christmas tree for each of us. Now we opened the envelope, and it said, "Go to the back door, and your name is on a string." And so we would go back, and we each had a string, and then we followed the string. And my grandfather liked, kind of crazy surprises. So we followed the string, and it kind of wound around the backyard a little bit and around a plant or two. And we just kept following it. Of course, we were young. We were just following the string like we were told. And I was convinced, I was smarter than my other brothers. Maybe there was a bike there. I didn't know. But we all had our talk, and we all knew that my oldest brother my number 2 brother who had asked for the 10-speed was crazy. That wasn't going to happen. And probably my number 3 brother, which asked for the 3-speed, was probably what we're all going to get, a 3-speed maybe, hopefully. And probably we weren't even going to get a bike. It'd probably be just something like my grandparents would get us, clothes or something. Well, we followed the string around and it went to the garage door, and we opened the garage door. And when we opened the garage door, there were 3 bicycles sitting there. There was a 10-speed, a 5-speed, and a 3-speed bike. Our self-talk allowed us to get exactly what we convinced ourselves that would be within the feasibility of getting. If we had all asked for what we really wanted, we would all had been 3 10-speeds there. So it was a really big lesson for us that day to figure out that, don't self-talk yourself too much, because you'll probably end up with what you're believing in. So that was another big one. And then another self-talk was, I had a business, and we catered to in the women industry, and it was a laser hair removal business. And the economy started to really dip. And it was in 08, 07, and the economy was falling apart. And all my teams were self-talking, and all the people in the industry were self-talking about how devastating this was going to be to the business, and the economy was going to slow it down. Unemployment was plus 10%, and, there was no money, and it was going to be bad. And at this point, I had pretty well adopted the kind of vetting self-talk for myself and for things that I started thinking I would go back and completely vet it. Well, in this case, I had done it, and I got to share with you how presenting facts versus opinions. And I have a thing, I guess, Senator or Representative Daniel Patrick Moynihan, back in the 60s, I believe, coined a phrase: everybody in here is entitled to their opinions. Nobody's in here entitled to their own facts. Well, the fact of the matter is, while all our people and all our competition, the whole industry was freaking out about the economy. I mean, unemployment up in almost to teens, the housing crisis, people losing jobs. I mean, who's going to be able to buy? The fact of the matter was, our patient or our customer base was a 25 to 40-year-old female. And at the time, so what the facts said, and these were the facts, not opinions, the facts said that during the height of that, call it '08 recession, that the unemployment rate for our age segment of female never got above 4.5%. So it was almost statistical full employment. So everybody that could be our customer had a job. And then our average household income was $37,000. So it was not rich people by any stretch. So not only did everybody have a job, everybody was within the economic framework of what we need to do. So as our team understood the facts versus how the economy or everybody was sharing how bad it was, and we dealt with the facts versus the self-talk, our company continued to be mega successful, and it grew in face of the recession. And in fact, because of that, it allowed this company to have a $175 million exit only 6-7 years after this growth started, and because it was able to prove in a recession it could be highly successful. And that was an example of eliminating self-talk, because it would have been easy to have fallen into that pitfall of self-talk and believing the economy, which was no factor at all to our customer. But it was a factor if you were selling anything to people in their 50s, or you were selling anything into certain segments where the unemployment rate was high. So those are a couple of examples of self-talk. One other one that was pretty big was I had a tire company and I needed to buy new trucks, and I have learned to eliminate self-talk and believing what cannot happen without exhausting all possibilities. So we were looking at buying new trucks, and we were a kind of a turnaround company. As a matter of fact, we were very much a turnaround company. And everybody was convinced that we couldn't get new trucks because we didn't have good credit. And so we had a bank, and we were dealing with our bank, and our bank kept going, well, we got to get this, got to get that, got to get all these things. And the bank couldn't make a decision. And the vice president of the commercial department said, Dean, we're going to get this done. Just be patient. And we kept going on and on and on. And the trucks were in a dealership ready for us to get them. And what I wanted was, and this is where when you eliminate self-talk and you don't believe what everybody says could or couldn't be, I wanted to get the trucks 100% financed. And at the time, we were adding equipment to it too. So I wanted 100% finance, no money down, 60 months to pay. And everybody said that was impossible. And my bank said it was impossible. So I went to the truck dealership and I met the head people of the truck dealership, and I said, this is what I want. I'm going to buy 5 trucks from you. They looked at me and said, not a problem. Now, again, had I just taken the word of everybody around me and all the self-talk going on, well, you can't. But in real world, I went and I said exactly what I wanted. And if I got that, somebody was going to sell me 5 trucks. Well, here's the craziness in that. I, in fact, got the trucks financed that day, went in and signed all the paperwork. And oh, by the way, it was actually a better rate than my bank had been quoting me. That was not confident that we were going to be able to get the deal done. And everybody was telling me skeptically that we would be able to get it done, which it would have been easy for me to believe and throw in the towel like so many people do. Here's the craziness. When I went to sign the paperwork at the truck dealership to get the 5 trucks, they printed off the paperwork at a better rate than I was being quoted at my bank. So I was all happy about that, exactly what I wanted in terms and everything else. This is crazy. The paperwork printed out for me to sign, and it was my actual bank. So my bank, working through the car dealership, I got a better rate. I got it 100% financed. I got exactly what I wanted, but not believing in the talk that was going down and the possibilities. And I was able to finance the 5 trucks, and from then on, we rocked and rolled. So there was a real world example of where it would have been easier to go, wow, we can't get financing, whatever. But you don't let up on what the possibilities are. You stay on it. And then one other story was I had a manufacturer of some of our products for one of my companies. And so I would fly, and I encourage you to do this. I'd fly to meet the CEO of the company. And I went up 2 or 3 different times, and vendors, the customers never came and saw the head of the company. It was almost like it was important for them to come see us. But I wanted to build a relationship. On about my 3rd visit, the particular person asked me, said, what can I do to help your company grow? Because we had started to grow and we needed capital. And I just looked at him and said, I would like $1.5 million interest free for 3 years. And he looked at me and said, he started laughing. And he said, that's impossible. We can't do that. And I said, but you asked me what I needed and what I wanted. And I just told you. So why don't you do this? Why don't you think about it and tell me what you can do and not what you can't do? And I appreciate you asking. And I then got on an airplane and flew back to Tampa. A day and a half or 2 days later, this particular CEO of this company called me up and he said, Dean, we did a lot of thinking about it and we're going to give you exactly what you wanted. And they gave me $1.5 million interest free for 3 years, which allowed us to grow the company and create a very successful company with capital at no charge. And we bought our products from them and it helped their company too. Again, if I had gone through self-talk and said there's just no possibilities, because everybody said nobody'd ever do that. Are you crazy? Nobody would ever give you an interest-free loan for 3 years. That's an impossibility. Again, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to tell you what can't happen. But think about, again, the innocence of thinking like a child. A child won't give up asking. They'll keep asking you till you almost break down and give in. And quite frankly, they're pretty successful, especially at very young ages. So that's some real world stories of where self-talk has impacted me negatively. And as I've learned through real world that when I don't listen to self-talk, I generally find very good circumstances or outcomes by not assuming and listen to self-talk and being like a child and assuming and being happy and knowing that anything's possible. So ask yourself, are you a victim of this kind of self-talk? And just double check yourself and hopefully some of these stories resonated with you today, and we'll see you again or talk to you again soon. These self-talk stories have impacted my career and impacted a lot of folks around me. And like I say, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but nobody's entitled to their own facts. Eliminate that self-talk and you'll see a lot more success in your life. Have a great week, and we'll speak to you soon.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. If you have any questions or need some help, just email help@adjunctceo.com. Thanks for tuning in.